Alright, welcome to today's lesson on working with strings in Java. So if you remember, so far in this course, we've looked at a variety of different data types, including integers, doubles, characters, and so on. But of all the data types we've looked at, only the char type has allowed us to work with letters. And even then, only working with one letter at a time. So how can we work with entire words or sentences? Well, you have to do this using what we call a string. A string is a special data type that can hold one or more ASCII characters. And remember that an ASCII character is anything we can type in using our keyboard. So a letter, a space, a number, a special character like a star or a $sign, those are all ASCII characters. It is also possible to have 0 characters in your string, which we call the null string. This is essentially a string that has absolutely nothing in it. Open quotes, close quotes, nothing in between. Now, unlike other programming languages, strings are not a primitive data type. Instead, they are what we call an abstract data type. This means that we have to use a string by creating an object of the string class, and then manipulate its data using methods. So how do we make that object? Well, it's actually quite simple, and we've already been creating objects of other types already. To make an object, you have to first declare it. So you have to say what type of information you're going to have, and then provide it with a variable name. So in this case, I'm going to create a string, and I'm going to call it word. Once I've done that, I am then going to actually create the object itself. So word equals a new string, and provide it the information that I want to store inside that string. So in this case, my word would contain the word Christopher. Okay? Now that's the same way we've created other objects so far in Java, like our console class, right? We go console C, C equals new console. Same thing. But because strings are so common in Java, there's actually a shortcut that we can use to create our string objects. And it's done by making them the same way we would make any of our primitive data types. So you can combine those two previous lines into one line of code where you say string word equals Christopher. And this is now going to take that word and store it into my string object. Now when we work with a string object, we have to sort of understand what information we're holding. So let's say I've got a string, 146 O'Hare Street. The question I'm going to ask you is how many characters are contained in this particular string? The answer? 14. How did I come up with that answer? Well, it's because you have to remember that a space is in fact a character, as is a punctuation, as is a period. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. When you're going to number the position of an individual character in a string, you have to do so starting at 0. So although this has 13 or 14 characters in it, there are the positions 0 through 13. So the 1 would be position 0, position 1, position 2, and continuing on all the way up to position 13. So there's always one less position available than there are actual number of characters within the string. So what are some of the methods that we can use to manipulate the data in our string? Well, the first one we're going to look at is one called substring. So again, if I'm going to create my variable called Christopher, I'm going to use a method called substring. So I'm going to get the substring of my word. And I'm going to get the substring of 3. What does that mean? Well, remember, each individual character in my word has a position. So what this does, it says I'm going to get the entire word of this starting at position 3. So 0, 1, 2, 3. I'm going to get the rest of the word. So in this case, I'm going to get returned back Istopher. So Istopher would be printed to my console. Okay, starting at position 3. I can also use this substring method by providing 2 parameters instead of just 1. So if I do that, I'm going to be providing the beginning and ending location for my substring. So what would this print? The answer, HRI. I might have confused you a little bit here. And that's because when we do substring, we include the first argument in our output or in what we return, but we don't include the last position. So it goes including this up to but not including this. So in this case we've got 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, but we don't include the 4, so I end up with HRI. Another method that's very common and very useful is to figure out how long a particular string is. And you do this using the length method. So again, word.length is going to tell me the length of whatever's contained in my word string. So in this case, my answer is going to be 11. How many things do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 characters. Again, positions 0 through 10. So here's a tricky one for you. What is this code going to output? Now to answer that, we have to start in the middle and work our way back. So word.length. Well, what was the length of our word? Christopher, it was 11. What's 11 minus 1? 10. So I'm going to get the substring from position 10. So what's position 10? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'm going to output just the R. So this is going to output, in this case, one individual character called R. We can simplify that by using yet another string method called char at. And I provide the integer location of the character I want. So if I was going to take that same code and put this, character at 10, I'm going to end up with just the R. Another useful method, way of using the length method is to help us with aligning our text. We talked before with our output about how to format stuff nicely by putting our output and providing a field length, or the number of characters that we're going to display our output in. Now, when I do this, I could output somebody's mark, in this case Osama. Well done, Osama, getting 97. I can output his mark, and then I can output it in a field of 25. But because I don't know how long this string is going to be, if I want this to be lined up in a column, I can just subtract out the length of the name. Let's see what that looks like in an example of code. So here we have the code. Again, I'm going to output some marks. I'm going to output Osama, his mark, in a field length of 25 minus the length of his name. And then Josephine, poor Josephine with a mark of 22, who has her mark output in a field length of less than her name. So let's see what this looks like. Oops, we need to compile. And we run. So there you go. And notice that these are lined up. Okay? That's different from if I was to get rid of the lengths of the names and just output their marks. You'll see that they're no longer aligned because my field length of 25 starts from where I finished outputting, goes 25 long, and prints it to the right. 25 long, prints it to the right. So by tracting and saying, oh, it's going to be 25 long minus however many letters I've used up, it's going to shift these over back to where they were. So again, I can show you how that looks. We subtract out the length, they're shifted over, so they line up. Regardless of how long this name is, as long as it's less than 25 characters, these are going to be shifted on top of each other. So again, a helpful tip for aligning our characters or our words. Now there's a variety of other methods. I don't have time to go through absolutely all of them, but tomorrow in class we'll sit down and we'll take a look at what each of these method does. So again, to use them, you're going to provide the string you're going to work with, dot, the method you're working with, and then inside the bracket here, it tells me what kind of information I need to run this method. So in this case, I have to provide some other string to concatenate with my first string. In this case, I'm going to replace a char with another char. And then over here, it tells me what kind of information is going to be sent back from running this method. So when I do a concatenate method, it's going to return a string that I could print, save, store, or do whatever with. So again, we'll talk about these methods tomorrow. We'll practice, and we'll see you then.